Hello, this is going to be a quick video on how to hit the Save button in cpanel in the Code Explorer or File Explorer, or Editor, rather. For this process, we're going to be using this Signum 2 custom programmable keyboard. However, any programmable keyboard with a programmable feature or macro feature will be just fine. TMKs can do this, QMK, it's all there. In this case, this board has Easy AVR on it, and that we will be showing you shortly. So, I'm editing this file here, and in my case, I'm editing in Vim. So we've got the original file, so here's an update. Yay. Yank those and put the update in here into cpanel. And after that, I'm going to press layer 2, S. And we see that I've entered an invalid file path, and that's because the file path is modified here to protect the innocent customers. But we are getting to that save button. That's what happens when we click this. And what's happening here is, from this context, that's not Vim. Sorry. From this context, I'm hitting, I'm getting out of here and going up to the URL bar, and then back to save and pressing save. And that process is taking place via a macro saved on the keyboard. So I'm hitting function layer 2 and then S, which turns into, on layer 2, M6, which is a macro. And our macro down here is Control L, some weights in there, Control L, Tab, Shift Tab, and then space. So pretty simple. And we can see what happens when we perform this manually. Control L brings us up to the URL bar. Then we're hitting Tab. And that actually, I double pressed that, sorry. Hitting Tab. And that brings us to here. And we actually want to go back to here. So we press Shift Tab. And that brings us up to here. And once it's highlighted, we can just hit space, which is a normal select for anything that's highlighted. That process is instant, aside from these weights. The reason the weights are in this is because the keyboard will send keystrokes as quickly as possible. And in doing that, processes that have heavier stacks, such as browsers, may not catch all the keystrokes because they're coming in extremely fast. So these weights that are in the middle are just kind of to slow things down. If you had something that had more direct interface closer to the OS layer, such as like Excel or something, that would process a lot faster. It would process every keystroke you gave it. So you don't have to worry about that in programs like that, but in something like this, in a browser, or worst case scenarios, probably like Google Spreadsheets or something, you got to put lots of weights in there. But it will still process them as long as you have the weights in. But then the output, the result, is the ability to do stuff. Save. And that's it. And then you're back working. And this might even seem like a minor annoyance. I almost laughed when I made this macro, when I put it together, because it really just seemed unimportant. It seemed like the most trivial thing, but after, well, it seems trivial until you're in this context and you say, another things, copy, back here, and you hit paste. Oops, sorry. You don't hit paste because you just hit save. And then you copy everything, and then you hit paste, and it doesn't paste because you're still clicked on this save context. You're up here. So you have to go move your mouse down here, and then click, and then move up and click save, and then go back. It adds up, and it adds up to a lot of annoyance and stuff you just kind of don't want to deal with. And I get on about this as far as productivity is concerned. It's travel time. and it's travel time, it's excess stuff, because what your target is 100% pure coding, pure work. And everything that's not work, including going to the bathroom, eating food, even picking up your hand and move it to the mouse, to make this code go into where you want it to go and then test it and then move on, that's all extra work. It's work that does not pay. It's non-profitable work. So you want to eliminate that as much as possible. Doing that here, once I got the macro going, and it didn't take too long, to be honest, these weights were just tossed in there just kind of under the assumption it would be a problem. It could probably even be reduced, but it only took me a few, under a minute to put this together. But afterwards, I guarantee you I saved more than a minute in time just making this a keystroke, so that I don't have to leave the keyboard and I don't have to break flow. So if you do not have a custom programmable keyboard with easy AVR or TMK or QMK or anything like that, you can always use this lovely piece of software called AutoHotkey. AutoHotkey is very cool and very powerful, and even has some features that are not included in this yet, at least this current generation of the firmwares. And you can do a lot with it. I'd recommend messing around with it. You can get these kind of macros to a keystroke where you're doing, Control-Shift something, or Control-Alt-Shift. Making a super key is also a great idea. But these are all things that kind of work around this hardware solution. And if you get into AutoHotkey and you use it for this and not much else, hey, that's fine. I mean, whatever works. But if you are like me and you become this efficiency expert and you really start to rely on being able to work quickly and being able to get a lot of your workflow done using these macros, you're going to find yourself running into and butting up against the shortcomings of AutoHotkey, which are not that heavy, but once you run into them, you're just going to be wondering why you didn't just get a keyboard in the first place. Again, you can get into these kind of programmable keyboards pretty easy. A Quickfire Rapid is, I guess, under $100, and then you can buy a separate programmable chip. You get that. That's a Frosty Flake, and that will you can swap that in on your QFR to make that mechanical keyboard into something that is programmable and uses Easy AVR, which is very cool. I'm a big fan of Easy AVR because it reduces your iteration time. It makes it easy to switch between different macros, try different keystrokes, mess around with things, try to constantly improve your process and your workflow. And I don't know, everything gets faster. And you reduce that extra work, and you just feel more efficient. You feel better. And then when you're done, you pick up this keyboard and bring it someplace else and plug it into a new computer. Everything's on here. All your macros are here. You don't have to worry about the OS fighting your caps lock to control shortcut, because that also doesn't work. Even on the OS level, the registry edit you can do to turn caps lock into control, even that has limits. So it just makes everything so much easier. And for someone who's a programmer or someone who does a lot of work on computers, I mean, this is something that you use every day. This is something that's going to make you more efficient, make you feel better. And just, I don't know, it's worth the money in my experience. This one is, I made this one's custom, and the kits are like $300. But you can get into them pretty inexpensively. So I'd recommend that. AutoHotkey, also, mess around with it anyways. It's really great. It's really powerful. But these are kind of great ways for you to reduce your workflow and get to that cPanel button and get clicked back in here. Oh, one more thing. On this save, once you save here, or hit that button, and you flip back, you're out of that context. The way I get around that, I don't think I mentioned it, was doing mouse controls on the keyboard. And then you just click. And that gets you back into this context. So you hit the save key, and it saves. You copy out, new things, and then you have to click back in here to be back in the text editing context, and then save. Oh. Ta-da! I think that's about it. If you have any questions about this stuff, please feel free to leave some comments. It's just about workflow, people. It's about reducing that workflow, getting everything faster, and making you faster and getting more done. All right. Thanks.